Yeah, and hey guys, Super Horror Bro Mike here, and in today's video we're checking out a Poppy Playtime comic, which actually came out last month from Mob Games, and followed the adventures of Bunzo Bunny until he met an unfortunate end. Now I didn't actually have time to cover this when it originally released, but now I'm back from my holiday and I have time to catch up on stuff. I wanted to go through this comic, sort of give it a quick analysis and a read through. There's also a horrifying CG render of Bunzo at the end, so we're going to check that out and give it a quick analysis as well. But yeah, with that said, guys, let's go through the comic to begin with. Now, this comic released on Twitter, on my Mob Games official Twitter, which I will link below if you want to go check it out for yourselves. And basically, it was a choice-based thing for the community, where they offered a series of choices to everyone. They got to vote on a Twitter poll, and that sort of dictated the direction the comic would take. So as you can see in this first image, we have 3 different directions that Bunzo could move, and basically people got to vote on that, and it led to where it led to. So let's begin with the first comic. Bunzo says, "Howdy, friend. My name's Bunzo Bunny. I'm on an egg hunt, and I need your help to find the secret eggs. I think one of my pals might have a clue. Who should I ask?" And of course, this is where people got to vote. You can see we have Bron here, then we have a Boxy Boo there, and of course, over here, we have the PJ Pugapilla caterpillar creature, one of the creepiest enemies, in my opinion, in Poppy Playtime. And you can see that Bunzo is holding a bucket called Bucky. We had the little minecart called Barry, didn't we, in Chapter 2, and now we've got a bucket called Bucky. These little weird mascots that they have kind of remind me of that Windows paperclip mascot a little bit. But yeah, that's the first image. Not too much to say right now. He's on an egg hunt. This was released around Easter time, of course, and he has 3 directions to take. Now, as you can see, the community voted for Bron as the direction to take, and so we're heading over to Bron. So let's continue the comic. I'll ask Bron. He's so tall, he can probably see all the hiding spots. Howdy, Bron. Have you seen the secret eggs? Bucky and I are on a hunt. Hi, Bunzo. That sounds like fun. I think I saw one hidden up in the catwalks in the game station. Did you hear that, Bucky? Let's go. Later. Eggy, eggy, eggies. I smell an egg, Bucky. But Bron said to go to the game station. What should I do? So this is kind of interesting. It shows that Bron and Bunzo were friendly to one another, at least in this comic they were. I don't know if that kind of translated into the living toys, because of course we saw in that recent teaser that the living toys preyed on one another. It was kind of like an animal hierarchy where the predators of the kingdom preyed on the littler creatures. So I'm guessing that like Bunzo would probably be someone who was preyed upon by something like Bron in reality, but in this comic they are friends. As you can see, there's a boarded up way that we can go through, or you can go straight to the game station. And once again, it fell on the community to vote here, which leads us to the next slide, which is, of course, going under the shutter, because nobody wanted to have a happy ending. Everybody wanted to see what would happen if we crawl under the shutter. Now, what's interesting about this shutter, guys, if we go back quickly, is we can see it is the boarded up shutter from Chapter 2 next to the grinding machine, where the creepy prototype grabbed Mommy Longlegs and took her away after she was diced up in the grinder, and then sort of assimilated her, we assume, into its own self. And Bunzo's headed through into that room, so we're going to see what's on the other side of that now. Just a quick peek. I can come back later. It's really dark. Look, there's the egg. But it's so high up. How do I get the egg? So as you can see, we have a number of options of how Bunzo can get the egg there. It looks like a normal egg, like an egg that a bird would lay, and it's got a nest around it. There was a series of boxes that he can climb up, or he can use the grab pack. So these were the 2 options, of course, and in the next slide, we're going to see what happens. Of course, he uses a grab pack. This grab pack should do the trick. I got it. I wonder what's inside. And as you can see, what was inside was kind of horrifying, guys. We've got this crushed up little birdie in there, which is kind of sad. Yeah, well, that will happen when you use a grab pack on something like an egg. Eggs are very fragile. They're not meant to be grabbed by mechanical arms and mechanical hands, because that will, well, result in a crushed embryo, as you can see here. Kind of a tragic end to the Easter egg hunt there. And Bunzo's face, as you can see, turns to absolute terror. He's very upset with the result there. In the next slide, he says, "Don't worry, little birdie, I'll help you." But then the floor breaks and he falls down into this secret room, sort of down a slidey tube and into this room. He's very injured, as you can see. He's got blood on his face, and as he grows accustomed to the dark surroundings, you can see that there's a tunnel in front of him, and he goes, "Help!" As you would, call out for help, because, well, you've just taken a great fall and you're heavily injured. You can see that now it switches to a time lapse as we go through the various time periods that he's been down here, first starting with just 1 hour, where he seems to be a little bit injured, but he's kind of just waiting for help. 12 hours, he's starting to bleed. There's blood all around him. His wounds have opened up. And as you can see, he's kind of getting a bit nervous there. You can even see the little bird embryo next to him squished on the floor, which is kind of gross. We've got some crayons around him and paper. So this has obviously come from his pail, his little bucky pail that he was carrying. You can see that it had pages of paper in there and crayons. And his flashlight is just there, illuminating him in the darkness. Now, one day passes. He's starting to freak out a bit. Look. Where he's drawn, he's all like quivering, his shadow's quivering, he's holding his head, he's going, oh my god, what's happening? Is anyone coming? Am I stuck down here? This is kind of interesting because obviously this is meant to be one of the living toys, the experiments, which has a human personality within it. So it shows that they do have a sense of, I guess, their mortality, right? Like they can tell, hey, I'm gonna die, I'm freaking out. So they do have, even though like we saw that video and it said that Bron didn't remember who he used to be. I can't remember the name of the character who was put inside that, the name of a human, but there was a human put inside him and he didn't recall his human memories, but he was still sentient. This kind of proves that they do have fear. They do have emotions like fear, distress, happiness, like he was happy earlier. So they're living, breathing toys and they do have all the emotions of a human, not just like an animal where a lot of animals we don't know if they have like the range of emotions of a human. It seems like these toys do because they have a human soul within them. So that's interesting. Now 3 days pass, he's crying, he's torn now. His seams are coming undone, the fluff inside him is kind of coming out, as well as more blood. Nothing much else in the room has changed at this point. After 15 days, it looks like he's died, but he's got a crayon in his hand. And all around him, guys, you'll notice the pages are now filled out. And they have like, it seems like comic book panels on them, right? Which is interesting because we have just been reading a comic book. And then we have one final image here, which has like a scribble on there. And essentially, I assume that means that he died trying to complete a drawing. That's what that signifies. So he died while still drawing. That's all he could do to pass the time. Like, nobody came to help him. That was how Bunzo met his end. So he just died of starvation down inside this hole, or perhaps just bled out from his injuries eventually. Either way, he survived 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a hole like that. It's got to be a pretty morbid way to die. And then the final image, guys, is the render, the CG render of, like, Bunzo's death. And as you can see, a little bit creepy there because he's missing his eyes completely and they seem to have been drilled out and taken. What is interesting as well, on the floor you will notice that we have the pictures from the comic book around him. To me, this suggests that the comic book was him retelling what happened before he fell down the hole. So the comic book was drawn by Bunzo, and he wanted to basically leave something to chronicle his final hours on Earth. And it shows what happened to him before he fell down the hole, and then what happened to him while he was down inside the hole. So it suggests that Bunzo was an artist at heart. He was able to draw quite well, and it also sort of explains why we have a comic of Bunzo walking around and how he interprets the world around him. Perhaps it was a little different to what really went down. We also have these scrape marks on the wall behind him. Now these look very similar to the prototype 1006, that kind of claw entity that dragged Mommy Longlegs off. It looks very similar to the scrape marks that that claw makes. We saw them in Chapter 1. We also saw them in the teaser for Kissy Missy on the train when the train stopped and she got sort of set free there. So we see these scratch marks all around whenever a toy is either killed or humans are killed. Essentially, the prototype is always around doing something. And that would suggest that the prototype is what took the eyes of Bunzo. We know that Mommy Longlegs said the prototype basically wants to take parts of other toys to assimilate into itself. So obviously it needs a pair of eyes, and it decided to take those eyes from Bunzo. If we look at the original render of Bunzo we see in Chapter 2 as well, we see he has front teeth. They're missing in this picture here, so that could suggest that it's also taken his front teeth, which is a bit nasty, makes my teeth feel a bit funny even saying that, but that might just be a difference in the render here, I'm not sure. And you can see how badly his leg was injured as well here, I've just noticed. It's kind of twisted there and snapped. So yeah, guys, that was the comic. It kind of tells us that the prototype took something from Bunzo, and it also showed what happened to Bunzo. Eventually, he dies in this manner. Now, we don't know if this is the one from Chapter 2. My theory has always been that they made multiples of these toys using the children from the orphan program. You know, that sort of orphan initiative where they used children in all the experiments there. So I'm guessing that this is not the only version of Bunzo, that there's multiples, and this is just what happened to this particular one, which is kind of sad, especially if it has the soul of a child trapped within. And that's basically the comic, guys. There's not too much more to say about it. All we know is that this is probably teasing something that will be revealed in chapter 3, giving us little clues, as all those VHS teasers have also been doing. We're also soon getting an update from Project Playtime Season 2. When that comes out, I expect another lore tape, or maybe multiple lore tapes in that, which will obviously give us more information as to world building, and we can then theorize more as to what will happen in chapter 3. But for now, guys, this is going to end this video. So if you did enjoy this video today, guys, remember to leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for more videos just like this one, and I will see you all on the next one.